Sonic Forces' soundtrack is quite divisive, people's opinions on it ranging from believing it's one of Sonic's worst to one of his best. If you couldn't tell by the title, I really like this soundtrack, and today I'm going to discuss why I think that. Let's get into it. If you know anything about Sonic Forces, you should know that it has three main gameplay styles: modern, classic, and your custom avatar. The music applies to this logic as well. First off, we have modern Sonic. His music is easily my favorite and is made up of upbeat, rock-ish tracks with some electronic flavor. The most prominent of these electronic additions is the lead synth that's used in almost every stage. And just a hot take, I really like this synth. I don't know, it's just got such a jagged and rough sound that I just love. Next, there's Classic Sonic, which utilizes FM-style tracks to attempt to emulate the Genesis feel. So how do these tracks live up to the classic titles? And, it's not that bad, I'm not gonna lie. They're not great, per se, but not the ear-piercing stuff that it's made out to be. Finally, there's the avatar music, that has this, EDM pop kinda style with vocals. The songs themselves are quite good in my opinion, but the vocals are just a little lacking. So, I already talked about what we should expect from the modern stages music-wise, but let's dive into what I believe is the best of the modern songs in this game. And man, I just gotta talk about Sunset Heights. I love this track. It definitely emphasizes the rock element a lot more than the electronic element. Of course, the electronic synth is still the lead synth, but it still definitely, pushes those background elements to be a little bit more prominent. Eggate is a good one too. I really like this track. The energy is just I would almost say this track gives off more energy than Undefeatable. Now, of course, Undefeatable is a much better song. I'm not debating that. But I'm saying that Eggate just motivates you to go so much faster than Undefeatable does. I'm just gonna be real. So yeah, I love the energy in this track. It's just great. And one last track I'd just like to talk about here is Network Terminal. Now, everyone wants to talk about the interior, but the exterior song is incredibly underrated. It's just incredibly anime and the best way ever, and I just really like this track. It just goes crazy hard. And of course, the interior is nothing to laugh at. While I think the exterior is very underrated, the interior track is just funky as all get out. Seriously, this track is nutty. So yeah, I love both of those tracks, but I feel like the exterior song should be more appreciated. No one ever talks about it for some reason. So even though the exterior song might be very underrated, there is one song that I think is even more underrated. I never see a soul bring this song up. That is Final Judgment Reactor. No one talks about this, ever. I mean, it kind of makes sense because it's in a throwaway stage that takes a minute and a half that has zero level design. It's literally the bare minimum of a level. So, and this song only plays for 15 to 30 seconds of it. So I don't blame people for not talking about it, but seriously, this song is such a banger, dude. Oh my gosh. And just another thing that I feel like is just underappreciated has got to be the drums and bass in a lot of these stages. People always want to talk about the main synth, and yes, it is very aggressive, but if you kind of take away most of, the instruments, but just have the drums and the bass, it's really good. Listen to Eggate. Dude, it's just good. I don't even, you listen to it, I don't know what to tell you. It is such a good song that way. So something I was talking about earlier with Eggate was that the song definitely, it pushes you to go fast. And I feel like that applies to most of all modern Sonic's tracks. So I believe Sonic Team definitely fulfilled their vision of wanting the player to dash like a maniac. Seriously, the music definitely makes me want to do that. Okay, so now that I've gotten the modern tracks out of the way, let's look at the next guy in line, Classic Sonic. So with these tracks, like I said earlier, they're not really that bad, and I'm really quite fond of some of Classic Sonic's tracks. Ghost Town, Death Egg, and The Eggs Dragoon are some good songs, and they're definitely the highlights of classic Sonic's music. So diving into this, I kind of want to debunk something I see a lot, because a lot of people say that the synths are the problem, and I don't agree with that at all. I feel like the synths here are quite good. They very well emulate the Genesis style. Of course, they're not one-to-one Genesis instruments, a lot of these tracks have extra reverb and, other effects that clearly make them modern day. But still, they definitely get that style very correct. I mean, it's well done. I feel like the real problem is that the songs feel very empty at times. There's a lot of times a lack of instruments, and of course the Genesis songs were actually like this, but they found ways around it. But in this case, it feels like they just the songs are a little bit soulless is a way to describe it. Even though they sound good, and there's nothing really wrong about it, they're not really that good at certain points. But yeah, I still like these songs, but they never rise above I like them, I feel. There's not one classic song that I'm like, that is a great song. It just doesn't feel like that's there. They just kind of stay at that I like kind of level. But one classic Sonic song I do want to talk about that's pretty notable is classic Sonic's part of the final boss, so the first phase. This is really good, actually. I'm actually quite a fan of this. It's nothing crazy, but it's still pretty good. So before I wrap up this section, Green Hill. We don't talk about the Green Hill. Okay, so the Avatar stages, they're just bangers. They are just bangers. Like, all hits and, almost no misses. But one song, I just gotta say, rises above all the rest, and that is Capital City. Good grief! This is such a good song, dude. Oh my gosh. Modern Sonic may still be my favorite, but these go crazy hard, I'm gonna be honest. The electronic vibe is just great. The synths are used in such good ways. It feels like the mixing and the instrumentation on these songs is just really, really good. And the lyrics on these tracks, I'm gonna be honest, they're not the greatest, and of course, I don't really expect that for just, individual stages in a Sonic game. I'm not expecting crazy lyrics, but they do fit the levels very well, which I appreciate. They're very direct about what the story, what story elements are going on in this stage. So I do like that. They're definitely relevant to what's going on, so that definitely elevates them a lot. And I also think all these songs, they really match the pace of the Avatar's levels, because they're not crazy fast, but they're certainly not slow at all. They're definitely quick, but I feel like that matches the Avatar stages really well, because the Avatar isn't crazy fast, because they don't got the boost, but it's not slow and sluggish like classic Sonic. Of course, that's assuming you're not using the drill. You will be going very fast if that's the case. But yeah, seriously, all bangers. Go listen to them, I beg you. And that just leads me right into my next point. So, with all of that said, if you want to listen to the best of Sonic Forces' soundtrack yourself, well, I got you covered. There is a YouTube playlist that will be in the pinned comment that is only the best tracks from Forces. And this isn't just level music, by the way. I've got some cutscene songs in there, menu songs, other stuff. So please, I invite you to go check it out. So yeah, I love this soundtrack. It's not perfect, but I feel like it's got so many highs that the lows just kind of cancel out a little bit. So I stand by what I've said in the title and in the thumbnail. I think this is an S-tier soundtrack, right beside Frontiers, SA2, and other great Sonic soundtracks, because there's a lot of them. So that's gonna be it from me. I hope you enjoyed, have a good day, and goodbye.